Hello everyone and welcome to the ESCDaily Show, the Eurovision talk show in which we'll discuss current events, opinion and make a preview towards the show week which is about to start. I'm Stefan Gorkum, I'm your host tonight, and my guest for tonight is Szymon Stelmasik from Poland.
Hello, thank you for having me here.
So, Szymon, you've been a Eurovision veteran basically. You've been
Thank
working
you.
at it for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
How do you think that the Eurovision has changed over that long period of time?
How much we... I mean, there's no time to talk about it actually, because I mean, it's amazing time how the technical equipment and all these things have changed 3 years. Well, we are in 2022 actually, after COVID, which is also a difficult period also for the Eurovision Song Contest, which was cancelled in Rotterdam. And now we have this war in Ukraine. And I think it also influenced somehow to the Eurovision Song Contest. I mean, you cannot compare 2003, for instance, when I started to be more professionally involved in the Eurovision Song Contest, with 2022. I always ask the same question to people who were, for instance, participants in that time, or like a manager of our singer, Polish singer, Christian Ochman. Maciej was actually the manager of Michał Wiśniewski in 2003, and he came back to Eurovision now. And asking him about change in the Eurovision, he started to laugh because it's like a one...
Completely different world.
Exactly.
All right. Well, you mentioned already the war in Ukraine. We'll talk a little bit more about that more later on in the show. But let's start with a technique, because as you said, Eurovision has also changed in a technical way. There's a lot of things different now. We have LED screens, we have internet, you know, we have all these different things. You told me before the show to emphasize that you're not a technical person, but you watch, I mean, you know the Eurovision Song Contest and you know what you see and what you like and what you don't like, right?
Yeah. I judge by my impression rather than the technical issues. Of course, I can name some things, but I don't do it professionally. That's why I don't feel competent on that.
Okay, so we do have some technical issues at this year's Eurovision Song Contest. We have plenty of them, actually.
A lot.
I mean, we don't have to go into full detail to say like, oh, what cables or whatever has to be changed. But from a viewer's perspective, like you just said, from what you see on the TV, what do you notice from that now, like in the rehearsals, for example?
The sound issue is key issue actually, because
with the stage, you mean? Right?
Yeah, exactly. Because it is also about technique. If you have some which actually is not as fast as it should be, and the problem for me is that indeed some delegation had to change their presentations, and they are not satisfied. But we have no clear communication from EBU, and that's my only remark. Because I'm not critical. I can understand that something doesn't work as it should be. No problem with that, because it's live show and people, things like that happens, that lights suddenly they don't shine as it should. But we see the atmosphere, we can feel the atmosphere which is not good in some delegations. Maybe that's why there was this communique from EBU about hating. People were also guessing what it's about actually.
And that's not good. If you give out a press release and people don't even know what it's about, then maybe something is wrong with the press release.
Exactly. And I think this is my only, I could say, critical remark about lack of communication. I don't see a problem if something doesn't work. I see a problem with, there are some gossips, some unexplained issues. I don't care. I mean, if there are some changes before the live show, but you know, the interest of fans, media is huge thing.
And which countries do you think, from what you've heard and seen so far, have are most impacted by this thing with the sun? Right?
Judging by reaction, I think it's Albania. But I'm not sure, because Ronela reaction on press conference was not. I don't want to say polite, but she was behaving like diva. She's diva, but maybe some people said that maybe this communique was due to her the critical comments towards the whole stuff, production and so on.
Yeah, well, we have that quote, actually. This is her tweet, which we'll talk about also later today. But we have that quote from Ronela at the press conference. She was indeed not happy with what happened to her at the rehearsal. So let's take a look at exactly what she said.
Is your stage performance we saw today, is the final we'll see in the semi-final? You complained about the microphone. Could you explain more on that?
Honey, today was full of mistakes.
Okay.
And it wasn't my mistakes. But there are things that could be fixed, because that's why we're rehearsing. And I know that the team is great, and they will do their best, and they will shut down the lights when I want to.
My question.
Ronela from Albania, who, in actually to your question, said in very clear words that she's not happy.
That's why I think well, we could listen to her presentation, her second rehearsal. We knew that something is not correct with her vocal performance, but maybe other things. And I think it was connected also with this sound issue.
Yeah. And as she said in this tweet, where she said, people are so dissatisfied from me, it's probably not just the Rai people who are getting like harsh comments on social media about the technique that's not working, but it's artists sometime too, right? And she probably got some backlash on social media. Do you think that nowadays people are harder, you know, on the artists and on EBU and on Rai and on, you know?
Now everyone can judge. I mean, every has the right to express his or her opinion. I don't have a problem with that. But sometimes, you know, when you are involved sometimes in the delegation things, like I did in the previous years, I always had a spokesperson for Michał Szpak, for instance, or I collaborated with Marcin Mroziński or with Blue Cafe in completely different time as well in the Eurovision Song Contest. And I knew how it worked within the delegation and how people reacted on things, seeing just parts, fragments of the rehearsals, press conferences, judging just few things without knowing the whole context. And it's the same, for instance, with, okay, today we had the rehearsals of Italy, right? And people in internet criticized, especially Blanco, for his...
It was his first time on stage. He missed the first rehearsal.
Exactly, for his vocal performance. But I'm not afraid of him, because I believe in his talent. Of course he was tired. He's not used to get up so early to sing, but I don't think he will have problem with great performance for such talented kid as he is. In a proper night. And, you know, people started to judge, to criticize in a very bad way. And sometimes you should take a step back, not to say too much. This is one thing. Another thing is also what I don't like, when some media are looking for a critical issue just to discuss. For instance, after
for controversy, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I had a question, maybe I'm not a native English speaker, that's why sometimes I miss words, I know. So maybe I was not clean enough, but I asked the Greek delegation about sending several Greek girls who live out of Greece.
Yes.
With, you know, from the Netherlands.
From Stefania last year.
Exactly,
And
from Canada and now from Norway. And I was accused
She
of
did
being,
not like it.
I was by the television, not by Amanda, by the way.
Yeah.
And I was accused by one of the private Greek television to be racist for that question. So I think exactly that my Greek friends send me screens and video of that. And I don't like this thing because, you know what, I mean, this is too much.
Well, first of all, you're a journalist, so you should be allowed to ask these questions. And second of all, I think you clearly, I was there at the press conference,
Yeah.
I think you clearly said that your question was if it's a strategy.
Exactly,
So it's
behind
it has,
message.
Yes, so it has nothing to do
The
with...
answer, by the way, is very good one, because actually they focus on the talent and artistic value more than the place they come from.
Right. So before we get too much off topic, I want to get back to this thing you said about Blanco, because you said this first rehearsal, of course, he didn't sound good, but you have all the confidence that he will be there in the second week.
You could hear it in his melody of his vocal. I mean, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Well, you're pretty sure about this, but you also said to me, and that's the opinion part of the show that we're
Okay.
going into now, that there's a lot of things this year that you are not certain about. Actually, you said your thesis is that this is because of technical issues, because of war in Ukraine, because of all these different circumstances, this might be one of the most uncertain Eurovisions, you know, in a long time. Why is that?
I think so. I mean, we talk already about Albania. Before coming, we all have already some images in our heads and expectation from the results. And I thought, oh, it is a very good starter for the show. After what I saw in the rehearsal, I'm not sure anymore. And then the song at the beginning I didn't like, Latvian, for instance. Suddenly I started to like due to very good, colorful performance and the joy, the happiness these guys
You can see them jump
exactly
right here.
have. And, you know, suddenly my attitude is changing. I mean, like the other viewers have the right to vote. And I don't know, I mean, I could really change opinion after the live show. Maybe sometimes it's better not to be fun and not to follow songs and preparations and just to see the exact show to give the final decision, because then you change your mind. Like it is about Albania, Latvia, but I have the same impression about the second semifinal. We are not gonna to talk, but also with other songs.
Let's talk about one of them, though,
Yeah.
because we will go into the first semifinal more deeply today,
All
because
right.
we're looking forward to the show on Tuesday. But there's one I want to discuss with you, because of course this year we also haven't seen the first round of rehearsals, right?
Exactly.
So that's already a load of information that we're
What
missing.
I like.
You like it?
Exactly, because as well from the delegation part, rehearsals are to rehearse. And sometimes, well, not everything works as it should. And
Right.
people are judging just seeing not whole preparation process. They done the homework and very good work. It's suddenly, well, this is the process. I mean, all these technical things to
Yes.
talk about in the viewing room. And I think that after the first visit in the viewing room, when they talk in detail, second by second, about the whole performance, about all changes, after that, that's the proper time to see more. So I think it was not a bad decision.
So okay, maybe not.
From
We
this
have-
part
we
of
have a
view,
lot
yeah.
Well, we had a lot of discussions about this within our team. I still don't know exactly where I stand. There is plenty of reasons to go for and against it. What is a fact is that because of this, fans and journalists have less information at this point than they
Exactly.
had before. And when then you have a second rehearsal like Sweden had yesterday, then we have no information at all, because Sweden was at their second rehearsal and they didn't even complete a full run through without any technical issues.
No, I think the fact that we have prepared so much before keeps me kind of calm, because I feel very safe with my team, Lotta, for example, here, and of course it's like, I like when things is going quick, so I always have to be like namaste when things is like it's because it's a process. It's huge. It's a huge television program, and I mean in Sweden we are used to having like 7 artists at a time, and now it's like 43, 40, which is crazy. So it's very. I have faith and I have understanding that it's a lot for them to do. I just hope that everything will be sorted out. But I think so. We have talked to them, and everything will be great, I think.
What's the most important thing you think that needs to be better the next time?
I think the most important thing is that I hear my music. So, but I did that later. So the first time was hard to sing because I didn't hear anything. But then it worked out fine. So I mean,
right.
as long as the sound
Yep.
is like where it should be, then I think everything else can be will be sorting out. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sound is the most important part for Cornelia from Sweden.
I
And she-
agree.
yeah. Is she, because of this now, one of those many uncertainties for this year? Because we don't even know what the performance is going to look or sound like.
In the end, the best song wins, I think. And of course, the performance is this Eurovision important part. But I agree that, I mean, to have a good hearing is the key issue for professional singers. It must be fixed.
All right. You say the best song always wins. That's something that people are also thinking about this year. I mean, we had it in our previous example of this episode of this talk show. We discussed it. Will Ukraine win, and will they win for the right or the wrong reasons? That's another uncertainty for this year, right?
I agree that this is uncertainty, but without this political context, I believe that the Ukrainian song is amazing. Really, I mean, even if people think that they do the same things another year to join different type of music in one piece, I think it's part of their tradition. I think it's a catchy song. And within this political context, we have a war. Remember, the song was written long before war about mother. And when thousands of mothers had to leave their homes
Yes.
in the country with kids, it becomes not only the hymn of one mother, Stefania, but a hymn of every Ukrainian woman. And it makes it so special that, I mean, it gives me, a lot of emotion knowing Ukrainian people very well. And
If they win,
Yeah.
does that mean, because you just said it's always the best song in the end that wins, if they win, does that mean that they didn't win because of war, but they won because they deserved it, in your opinion?
somehow they deserve it, because actually without war, I have it in one of top 3-4 positions.
And they were with the bookmakers high before the war already.
Exactly, and that's why I don't think the political things will decide on the decision of viewers. You know what? I always hope that the judge panel in every country is a fair one. Of course, it's not the case in every country, but I believe if people are selected to judge, they are competent people and they take fair decisions. That's what I want to believe. And they judge what they like, but according to different artistic values. And we don't talk about it anymore. Concerning the people and this feeling of sympathy towards victims like Ukrainian are after Russian aggression, I don't think that it is the same, value for every nation. For us, for Poles, I'm from Poland. I mean, this is very important issue because we are very attached to Ukraine. But going around Europe and listening to people from other countries, I know that it's not the same.
In every country.
Exactly,
Yeah, that makes
not
sense.
the
That makes
same
sense.
wave.
I have one more question before we go into the next topic. I have one last question about these technical issues. Do you think that, even with all the uncertainties, but do you think that going into the second week, any of the top favorites for victory are in danger of not getting everything right before the shows that really matter, the jury shows, the TV shows?
Well, the top countries, you mean Sweden, you mean Ukraine, or I don't know, UK or Spain? I think that they will do well in the end. That's why we have so many general rehearsals of before semi-final live show and so on. I try to quote this part of the conversation sound off, uncertainty, and the sound is not it's by purpose, of course, due to different problems of different artists with the sound. This is a very important thing, and I think it is a critical issue for artists, for viewers. It's about these all images and different, I don't know, pictures on screens and so on.
And it will get there in the end.
I think it's for many songs. That's the case, for instance, with Azerbaijan for me. I didn't like the song as such, but when I saw the performance and the I've heard the live vocal of this person,
Nadir, yes. Well, vocals are
amazing.
very important,
Amazing.
and they will especially be important at the next part that we're looking forward to right now, because we're going into the into preview mode now. There is a jury show on Monday night for this semi-final. Who out of, let's say, the borderline qualifying countries, who needs that jury vote more than anyone else? Who needs to be at the top of their game on Monday night? What do you think?
I never think like that. Never. What I do before, I believe in my intuition. So I think that I always choose really the best songs I'm sure that they will qualify.
Yeah.
Whatever jury or televote will vote, you know? And I have some countries to be 100% for me qualifiers, like, I don't know.
Name some.
Greece.
Yes, of course.
Portugal. Netherlands. Ukraine. Lithuania.
Lithuania.
Yeah.
You're certain about that one?
Yeah, I believe in her.
All right. Well, okay, so you don't think like that, but I know someone who does. It's Panos Zanetos, a professional gambler who goes into all the details of juries and televoting. And I asked him that very same question. Which of the borderline qualifiers need to get the jury vote on Monday? For who do you think that show is most important, especially among the borderline qualifiers? Who needs to be at the top of their game Monday night?
Well, the first one that comes to mind is Switzerland, because Switzerland is clearly a jury song. You know, the reaction it's been having in terms of the public, it hasn't been too good, and it's a kind of song that really walks on a very thin line between being mesmerizing and boring. So I can imagine it getting a low televote, especially from what we've seen from the rehearsals. Even though it was a second rehearsal, but it looked like the first. I could tell it was still a work in progress. But from what we've seen, I haven't seen something magical being created. Like, for example, a calm after the storm, which is the kind of thing that this song needed. It needed something magical to uplift it from its dullness, let's say. And because I haven't seen something like this, I think it's even more dependent on juries than before. You know, it could easily come 14th, 15th on the televote, so it needs to be top 5 juries. Yeah.
So it needs to be So it needs to be great with juries. Who else?
Who else needs the juries? I would say Iceland as well. Iceland, it is more of a jury song. But generally, they are consistent, and also it's not the kind of song where you can easily fail and have a bad night. I think if they keep doing what they're doing, they will get whatever maximum amount of juries they will always have gotten. But they need the juries, I think, because they will have higher juries than televote, and they are borderline.
In the end, which of those two will make it? If you had to make the final cut.
That's a very good question, because it's also the running order. Switzerland is very early on, and Iceland has the advantage of being late, but also then Iceland has the disadvantage of having the 3 strongest songs probably after Ukraine in the semi-final following it. So who knows? I really couldn't tell. I mean, something tells me that Switzerland might make it, because it's it's in English. It has a personal meaning, message, a personal touch. So perhaps Switzerland, because it's more clear what it's about and for whom it is, you know.
And if I turn the tables around, like who might lose it tomorrow night? Who would be a televote qualifier but loses his out on qualification maybe tomorrow because of juries?
Yeah, well, the first one that comes to mind, a couple of them, and they're actually the first two songs in the semi-final. It's Albania and Latvia. Both of them are, obvious televote darlings, let's say. Especially Albania. Albania is in a quite friendly semi in terms of their voting friends, and the songs that they have, they're clear televote songs. But then it depends how low they are with the juries, and they both have the disadvantage of being really early on, first and second. So those two are, the two that spring in mind in terms of having that opposite split. I guess also Austria, but if Austria doesn't get it together vocally and visually, we could have a scenario where both televote and jury are low. So that's more of a
and
joker.
Then it doesn't matter for them anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Final question, because we spoke a lot about the borderliners, but let's go to the top of this semi-final. You're a trader, so you will be looking also at the reactions of the market to these songs. Which are the ones that on Tuesday night, when the actual show is going on, that are the most interesting for you to see, like how the market reacts to the live performances of those top countries in this semi?
Well, the obvious one is Ukraine. But then again, whatever reaction will happen, even after the semi-final, I don't know how much we will be able to know if it's because of the song or if it's because of the whole situation. So again, it's going to be a question mark. So if I ignore Ukraine, I'm really interested in the last three songs of the semi-final. Norway is a clear televote song, but then it depends. How viral does it go? Like, is it a Kano televote or is it a Rup televote? So that's interesting. And also Greece and Armenia, both of which I think could be top 10 in the final. So it will be interesting to see how people react to them, because Greece is a more obvious jury song, let's say, than Armenia, but it will need the televote if it's going to do better than low top 10.
So this was Panos Zanetos, a professional gambler at this Eurovision Song Contest, and his opinions on the qualifiers. We're going to wrap up this show, Shimon, but before we do, I would like to ask you one last thing. You've been at Eurovision for 20 years.
Almost, yeah.
And now, how special is it this year that you have potentially a contender for victory in your own country?
That's an amazing thing, because sometimes I wonder, is he so good or other countries, other songs are so bad this year? I don't know. I just ask myself.
Yes.
Because he has a lot of chances. And I know that he is good. I know how vocally he's
a great
amazing,
singer.
Amazing. And I never doubt about his performance, his own performance. My only uncertainty was actually the whole presentation, because that's the team of TVP who is behind. And actually, I was talking about that with your Dutch commentator,
yes.
And he was amazed by the presentation of Christian, and I was also very glad that I knew some things, some gossips how it's gonna to be like, but without saying it, I was not sure. But my first reaction was actually I was touched and humble.
And how proud are you this year?
I am, because I am who I am. Because first of all, I'm rather sure that he will qualify. I'm rather sure.
And that's already something for your country.
And this is already
right? Yes.
amazing feeling. And secondly, I know that there will be no shame and there will be no critical things in Polish media. And this is already a success. And if people like it, and I see and I listen and I read positive comments from abroad, wow, what an entry, what a voice, what a presentation, that I'm so glad and happy that he has a lot of chances even to be in the top 10. This is our
Threshold.
aim, I would say. I don't think we will win, but at least now I'm happy with that what we have, and this is amazing.
Well, I would personally love to go to Warsaw, Krakow, Gdansk next year, if only it were for meeting you there again.
Oh my
because,
God! Thank you.
I'm very happy that you were on the show today. Thank
My
you,
pleasure.
and thank you for watching the ESC Daily Show tonight. And keep tuned to ESC Daily for all other updates about this first semi-final, about the jury show, and stay tuned.
Bye bye.